Good morning. My name is Mark Cabrera. I'm here to discuss with you multiple revenue stream. Residential or commercial, or both. You have the residential sales, like I said, we discussed that. On the commercial side, you have commercial leasing. It's decent amount of money. People make a living just doing that sometimes. Actually, I've met some people that are doing that, just making a living doing that. And then you have like selling buildings or leasing out a whole building for a client. So you're seeing that a lot actually when you pass by some buildings, especially nowadays out with the COVID. A lot of these places are empty right now because everybody's working out of their house. So it's a good business on the commercial side. And then listings, commercial or residential listings. There's different tiers of listings. You can actually go into the condominiums, and then you got actually townhouse, single houses, and this is the way I look at it from the residential side. And you have the single house, and then you have the upper end. The upper market, which is like the luxury market, which I'm also certified on that, is a market that I saw that I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much money to be made on there, but there's also so much expense to be spent. Because when you start hanging out with wealthy people, you better be darn wealthy and your pockets better be deep. Because they'll be taking you to places that you never thought has even existed. And you'll be paying like money like you never thought you ever spent. You know, I mean, one of the friends that I have, I actually hung out with in south of France. Oh my gosh, a glass of alcohol over there was like $45. And I was like, is that like $10 per ice that they put in there? That's how much it was. I was like, this is ridiculous. So we had like a dozen drinks. It was like over $400 or close to $500. Luckily, I mean, he's like, oh, no, I'll just pay it. I'll take care. I was like, okay, I'll take the next bill. So we actually took it up on the next bill, and I actually took him out. It's like a $60 dinner at a nice place, like normal place, not the place we were hanging out at. So, I mean, it's a whole different world actually dealing with that. And even if I get to that point when I used to be in that point, I could never spend myself to spend that kind of money to begin with. It's just not in me, I guess. Or even if, some people are just not like that. But sales or buyer's agent, right? You guys already know this. So I'm just gonna go through again. That's actually an area where the easiest entry to the real estate market is really about being a buyer's agent or getting into sales. Why? Because you can hold these open houses, and some people will tell you open houses never work or it doesn't work. Hey, I just made like $31,000 in commission this year just holding my own open house, and actually sold my own listing because nobody wanted to do them. So I showed up to my own open house and sold my property. Great. Sorry guys, you do want to do open house. So open houses, if you can pick up open houses, makes a big difference, believe me. Rental listings. Some people don't want to sell their property, right? They always have that option to rent it out. So I pick it up, I list the property, I sell the property that way. Perfectly fine. Easy stuff. You get usually around 60%. The most I do is 50-50 and 60, or, I usually don't go below like 35% because then the other agent doesn't feel like showing your property half the time. But some agents actually list the property like for a flat fee of $500 for the tenant agent that comes in. Which to me, if there's a huge shortage, I guess it works. But then people look at you and they're like, okay, when I pick up this list, the first thing I'm going to check is this person paying me any money, because is it worth my time, right? So that's one thing that I'm being very careful of, making sure compensate people, for the value of the work that we do. So renting tenant agent, this is another part. People don't like this. I've seen agents turn this down because they say there's not enough money in it. Well, guess what? To me, anything is better than zero, okay? I mean, to this day, I can tell you that. Because even if I rented a property, but here's the thing, here's the key here. If you're gonna be looking at the value of your time, you have to look at it from how many hours you're willing to spend for a tenant. See, the way I look at it, I cap it at 3 hours. So if I get paid $1,000 or $1,500 for the work, I make $500 an hour. At the most $300 an hour, maybe $250. I'll still take $250. I think it's still worth my time. But if you imagine if you put your time at $250 an hour, it's not a bad gig, right? So you don't feel so bad dealing with tenants. Put in a capped hours, and after that, basically, of course, you gotta let them know, hey, listen, I cannot keep going out there. What I'm gonna tell you from the beginning, let's look at properties that are the best possible properties out of the list I sent you. Pick the top 3. You're not gonna live there forever. So just pick the top 3 properties and we'll look at it. So I show them the top 3, and usually that works. We're able to actually get the property. If not the top 3, then the next 3. But if you think about it, the list depends on what the kind of market we're in. The list is not that long a lot of times, especially nowadays. So they're gonna like one of the 3, and then you just help them actually put the application together, and that's it. Simple as that. Most of the time they get in. Now, if you're dealing with low credit score tenants, just be very careful. If they're under 600, don't bother. It's gonna be almost impossible for you to find anything for them, and let them know, let's work on your credit. I really cannot help you, because your credit's too low. Nobody's gonna be taking your application seriously. We need to improve your credit. And then as the process they're improving their credit, encourage them, hey, listen, you can, looks like if you save up enough money, or we go into this 100% programs that, that my lender actually knows about, we might even be able to buy a house for you. So then you don't have to worry about finding a place every year or every 2 years when the landlord decides to kick you out because they want to sell the house or something, So that's a segue into getting a buyer. Tenants, you convert to buyers. Why not? Jeez, that's one of the easiest way to actually make money in the business, right? And plus, you're doing them a good service because you're helping them own the property. Now let's take a look at the project or property management. So I discussed with you guys earlier, property management versus project management. I think it's kind of clear cut, but offer that service to your client, if especially if they're investors, because if you get them dependent on your systems that work, right, you have a perpetuating client that will always keep coming back, because if they know they're making $20,000-$30,000 on each deal in 4 years, in 1 year, basically make $100,000, they'll keep coming back to you. And why not, right? So that's another part of the business that you can get into. So this is all the revenue stream that we're looking at now. Niche marketing, foreclosures, short sales, bankruptcy, divorce, probate, trust. I'll give you a little quick idea how to actually go into those areas. Foreclosures, what I would do if I were you, go into LinkedIn or some place like that and type in asset managers. Those are the ones that are gonna be managing assets for the banks. So once you figure out what the asset manager's name and information of where they are and all that stuff, right? Send something out to them, let them know that this is that you work on. This is some area that you're actually doing business in, foreclosure. If you had certifications, even better. If you have a minority status, even better, because minority status is something that, when I say minority, it could be, or a veteran or minorities, actually, they do a kind of like a preferential treatment, per se, for the people that are veterans or minorities, just to be able to actually help them with the business, like the small business stuff. So the banks actually mandatorily have to have a certain percentage of their business that they're putting out there. If they're going to be listing properties, they have to actually send it to minorities to keep it diversified. So what you do is you introduce your organization. If you're some type of minority, you can create a minority status scenario, then send that out to these asset managers that you picked up from LinkedIn, right? Get them to know you before the market goes crazy. Because when the market got crazy, I actually have a friend of mine, I'm going to be having a happy hour with him like in a week or two. He was the one managing for one of the largest asset management company in the United States at some point. And he was telling me how crazy it got. I mean, you cannot even go to the bathroom without somebody slipping your business card. I mean, that's how crazy it has gotten when the market was crazy for foreclosures. and all these parties and all these events being held and everything. It got really that crazy. But then if you don't want to get into that craziness, get to know people before the crazy market hits, because at some point what goes up must come down. It's like gravity.
No, dadgummit.
So if you're looking at the way our market is, it's not going to be up forever. I mean, that's wishful thinking. I really feel that I would want our market to be up forever, but it's going to come down at some point. And it's already, you can start seeing the cracks when the Federal Reserve is saying they're introducing the idea of raising the rates, raising the bond rate. And that actually affects the mortgage. And the mortgage interest rate goes up, basically you will have less buyers because the affordability of properties versus what the interest rate is and their monthly payment is going to look like, it's not going to be something they would want to live in. So they probably either wait or actually just keep renting. So you're going to have a whole shift, like what happened in 08, like what happened in 01, like happened in 1991 or 92, when all these things actually factored in terms of your. And the reason why properties are going up, of course, is because there's not enough inventory. COVID actually affected that. But understand how the market moves, then you can get into foreclosures and be able to be early enough to try to reach out to those banks and asset managers to let them know, hey, I'm actually here. This is what I specialize in. When you start getting foreclosures, think of me. And then send them an email or whatever on a regular basis. Then eventually when the market shifts, you'll be one of the first ones in line. Because once there's a certain amount of agents are in line, they will shut the doors and they're like, oh, we'll wait a little bit until we figure out what these agents are going to do for us, if they're going to do well. If they do poorly, we get rid of some of them, then we open it up for everybody else again. And that's what was happening when I was actually getting into it kind of late, which that's what I did in 2009, where the foreclosure market started in 08, actually even 07. So anyone who's on 07 was getting a lot of listings. One of my friends actually was getting at least about 30 listings a month, and he closed probably like a couple hundred listings. He broke 200 actually in terms of number of properties sold. And I know one person actually that's from Virginia that actually sold 600 properties in 1 year. Okay, so insane amount of numbers when you're looking at foreclosure, because one bank can assign you 20, 30, 40 listings if you can handle it, right? So that's the idea behind that. You got the short sales. Short sales I got into in 06. And that's one thing that I can tell you about that particular revenue stream. It was very good because nobody wanted the business because it was too much work and it was too convoluted or too complicated. So with me, the way I look at it, when nobody wants it, I take it. I jump in when nobody wants to jump in. So I jumped in there. By 08, I was picking up actually 60 listings in 1 month. I mean, it got to that point and we got that crazy. And a lot of agents were getting out of the business. They were sending me their short sales. So I was like I was short selling a lot. I probably sold close to 250 short sales over the time frame of all the short sales when they started existing. Because in 06, 07, there was a lot more difficult to push short sales. But I'm familiar with it because of my accounting background, which I actually negotiated a short sale all the way from 1997 back then for a client, not as an agent, but as an accountant. And I was able to actually kind of, figure out where it was in the books, in the accounting books, to actually get it exempted, because normally you'll pay like a tax, what they call a forgiveness tax. So I figured out how to get rid of that. That's how I knew about the short sale way back when. And then you got the bankruptcies. I have an attorney that sent me about 15 or 16 clients that I closed already. Bankruptcy attorneys are excellent for that. So what I do is I send my bankruptcy clients that are actually going bankrupt, and they're like, I want to buy a house. I'm like, your credit looks not so great. I mean, you owe like $200,000 and your credit score is like 430. I mean, why did you file bankruptcy, and then we'll deal with this actually fixing it up after. And now you even have the programs back. The programs are back, guys, that you can actually get loans after bankruptcy. I mean, they didn't have that for the longest time after 08. But I probably lost like 12 from no documentation when that went away. But now they're actually back. They're all back, guys. I mean, we should be making a lot of money right now, right? So that's another thing I can tell you. Bankruptcy attorneys are gonna be very helpful for you guys in situations like this, because if they're going through foreclosure, let's check it out. So let's say they're going through foreclosure and they're going bankrupt, and then you caught them at the right time because you know about this multiple revenue stream kind of gig, right? You catch them at the right time when they're actually kind of losing their house, right? And you say, oh, why did you talk to this attorney? And this attorney actually sends you business, right? Because you send each other business back and forth. So you got a vendor that actually picks up clients that need to unload multiple properties, and they would rather not foreclose on it. They would rather short sale those properties. That's how I picked up 15 clients out of one attorney, because I was sending him the bankruptcy. He's sending me the short sales. So we were just going back and forth. I have one client that actually was a CEO of a company, and the bankruptcy attorney called me. He's like, hey, Mark, this guy makes $170,000 a year, and he wants to file bankruptcy. It's not jamming. It's not gelling. It's not gonna work. So let me go ahead and, can you take care of the properties? He's got 3 properties to unload and over $100,000 of credit card debt. Come on in. So he came into my office. As a matter of fact, one of the things I did for him is I helped him negotiate his $120,000 like credit card to like paying it off under 20 grand. So we were able to pay the $20,000 to $120,000, and then I short sold all his properties basically, and he has one left, the one he lived in. And then he filed bankruptcy. At that point, it was much easier. It's like a chapter 13, but he unloaded all the asset first, so then he won't be too much, to be paying into the reorganization. So you can restructure a client's finances through an attorney that knows what they need to do. And if that client has multiple properties to unload, you could be the short sale guru that will take care of that. And then you can get that business. And on the bankruptcy side also, some of the ones that are actually trying to keep their house are not able to keep their house, so they has to be sold. So at that point, you could be picked up as the listing agent of the trustee of the bankruptcy, whatever that situation is. So being able to be present on that particular like legal stuff is kind of nice, because you pick up natural business. That's another niche that you can get in. And then I talked to you guys about divorce. I mean, I really despise divorce unless everybody will be happy when they walk away, So, and then you have probate. People passing away, wanting to sell their property. I'm working with a client right now like that. And then you have the trust. Like I told you, you can pitch the idea of the people that are making good income. They can invest in real estate, and they can put it in a trust, so then they can actually buy multiple properties and have a plan to actually deed it to their kids later on, that kind of thing. Or, pass it on to their children, however it's going to work. And then you got the investment flips, right? I think you guys already know that. This is like what I call the recyclable clients that you get to deal with. And I talked to you guys earlier about that. It's being able to kind of guide them through the process. You can project manage their property if they're not hands-on. If they're hands-on, then you can just pick up the listing, sell it, and do it over and over and over. And then you have the buy and hold clients. I have clients that are like this, that over the years that I've been working with, they just buy houses and they leave it there, and they ask me to help them rent it out. Sometimes I manage a property, sometimes I don't. But in the end, everything works out, because eventually they sell the property for some reason. If kids going to college, they need some money, they unload one of the properties that they have. I list the property, sell the property, and then they use it for college, paying for college. So it's all in the matter of how people plan their finances. You want to be part of that. That's the whole idea between all these niches that I just showed you guys. Concluding this, multiple revenue streams works, but you need to be able to get into the first basic one, which is the easiest one to go after. At the end of the day, I like picking from a low-hanging fruits first. And then once that is actually depleted, or it's actually, instead of going to the next tree, you can go after the other fruits that's in that tree. So you can just don't have to move your ladder, to go to the next tree. But if it was me, in the beginning, I'll just keep picking out the low-hanging fruits and don't even have a ladder, and just go from one tree to the next, because that's the easiest way to make money in this business. It's the people that you already know, the people that you already trust, that trust you, and the people that would want to work with you because you are a good person and that you will look out for them. And a genuine amount of care with the people that know you is very important, because those are the ones that are what I call a walking billboard that will constantly refer you to others. And the skills that you need to acquire is to teach them how to refer business to you. But that's for another class. So thank you very much for your time, and I hope this was helpful. I know I didn't want to get into it right away in terms of the multiple revenue stream without giving you an overview of how to master one. And with all those things I brought up, hopefully you can grow your business, and I'm excited for you guys. Thanks so much.